There is a legend in Men Village called Yinsha Tungcoat. Cut off the legs of pregnant women, install the snake tail, and hundreds of poisonous snakes locked together in a closed room. After 49 days, then cut open the corpse's belly, removing the baby from the belly. Then the baby must be a boy. My mother gave birth to 3 babies. That night, my father turned him into a snake man. That night, my dad drank again. As soon as he came back, he pulled my pregnant mother out of the room. Come out and whip. I'm hiding in the corner like a quail, watching my dad kick my mom against the wall, using a broom to sweep the floor. Prodigal wife, the stone that can't give birth to a son. What's the use of you, old man? My father's broom lashed on my mother, leaving one hideous blood mark after another. He kept cursing. I'll beat you to death. Losing money, I saw my mother's face turn pale. My chest keeps rising and falling. Look at my dad. It seems like he really wants to beat my mother to death. So I plucked up the courage to go up and pull my father. My parents are still pregnant. Maybe this baby is a boy. Don't hit her, in case you end up aborting the boy. My father glanced at me with envy after hearing this. Kicked me away. Then he turned his head and ruthlessly whipped. Go away. The damn girl is just like your mother. Loss of money. But he didn't beat my mother anymore. Instead, he spit a blanket at my mother. He left cursing. Before he left, he turned around and looked at my mother with a hint of crazy money-losing woman in her eyes. I will make you into a snake woman today. I want you to not give me a boy. My dad came back that night. When he came back, his face was full of carrying a huge sack on his shoulders. He was holding a huge stainless steel glass box. I shrank aside, looking at the sack on my dad's shoulders. I don't know what's in that sack. Squirming madly inside, it gives me chills. I felt a sudden fear. My dad put the glass box in the yard. Then he untied the sack, poured all the contents into the box. After seeing clearly what those things are, I can't help but tremble all over. They were clearly poisonous snakes as thick as arms, black and white, red with bright red tongues, swimming in the glass box. There was a hint of madness on my father's face. I stood beside me and said, "You little bitch, today I will show you how the snake girl is made. If you can't give birth to a son, just like your mother's fate, there is a legend in the village treating pregnant women into snake women. This snake woman threw away her belly after death. There must be a boy inside. I originally thought it was just a rumor among the villagers. Who would have thought that my dad would actually do this? I huddled in the corner, watching my dad walk into the house with red eyes. Soon he dragged my mother out. My mother was only wearing a thin shirt. My father dragged me into the yard by my hair. He saw the glass box and the densely packed venomous snakes inside. I understood everything in an instant. My mother is holding my dad's legs, begging for mercy with a pleading face. Dad, I was wrong. I was wrong. Forgive me. This baby is definitely a boy. I can feel that this baby is definitely a boy. But my father's face showed no expression at all. He seemed not to hear my mother's plea. Pull out a sharp machete from his arms. Cut off my mother's limbs. My mother screamed shrilly. I felt a wave of fear, wanted to turn around and run away. But at this moment, the place on my chest where the lamp oil dripped last night, the lamp oil with the black snake pattern, a faint blue light suddenly appeared. It was that light that drained all my strength. I can't move a step. I can only watch my terrified, then he ferocious brother getting closer to me. Why is this happening? It was the witch who harmed me. He gave me the candle. He wants a brother. Eat me. My mind is spinning fast. I figured out a lot of things, but it's too late. My brother has already crouched at my feet. Those thin, cold hands. But I'm hiding in the corner. Pressed gently on my feet. I saw that he had opened his mouth, revealing a narrow, bright red snake. I closed my eyes. Despair. Suddenly, I heard a series of small knocking sounds. Then, my brother's shrill roar sounded at the edge of Val. I opened my eyes. The scene in front of me was bloody and blurry. Witness the horrific and bloody scene. It's Ghost Master San at this moment, holding my brother on the ground tightly, with 2 arms, holding my brother's arms. My brother struggled tightly. He opened his mouth wide, showing the sharp teeth inside. Bet the ghost
I saw him bite it
hard.
off, one bite at a time.
Pieces of flesh
My
and
father
blood
gave me
on
a bottle of
Ghostmaster
safflower
Sam.
oil.
Chest arms. The thigh even has half of the heart of the Ghostmaster. He also held it tight, chewing with big mouthfuls. Ghostmaster is not dead yet. He looked at me. That look is weird. There is regret and there is also an indescribable feeling. Girl, I was wrong back then. Rub it on my mother's broken limbs. I'm not a good thing. I destroyed you, your mother, and your brother. I saw the snake bamboo in the room. He is still alive. Don't trust the person who gives you snake bamboo, he said, and suddenly put his hand into his chest. I saw it with my own eyes. Go Sanyi from his own heart. Pull out a bloody knife. Then wrap my mother's face. Stab my brother in the heart. An old man. A child. Like two wild animals. They died in about half an hour. They are all dead. I stood quietly in the yard. They are still clinging to my body. Blood splashed during the fight. I don't know how long it took. Throw into the fire. I just stood quietly in the yard. Someone patted me on the back. I turned my head. It's the witch. There was a trace of disbelief on his wrinkled face. How are you still alive? The witch didn't think I would survive. Then why did he give me that I remembered what Ghost Sanye told me before he died. Don't trust the person who gives you snake bamboo. Finally, he put his hand into my mother's mouth. The new red candle should be the snake bamboo. But who should I believe? Just then, the expression on the witch's face changed. The difference from the beginning. Became happy from the heart. He smiled with wrinkles on his face. Looks like a dying flower. He held my hand and said, "That's great." Broke his teeth. You are not dead yet. You are the only one in your family who shouldn't have done no evil. I nodded blankly. Everything that just happened makes me feel dizzy and mysterious. The witch said to me anxiously, "Take me to the basement where your mother died. I'm afraid your mother's ghost hasn't left yet. Still want to continue to digging out his throat. Take me there quickly." I went to collect his wrong soul. He didn't give a reason. Anxiously holding my hand, heading to the basement. But I noticed the witch's left hand hiding in his sleeves. There was a blade handle. I didn't say a word. After doing all this, lead him to the basement door. The witch pushed me away, heading to the basement. But the next second, he was stunned. He looked at his heart in disbelief. There's a knife stuck in there. The knife was inserted very deep. It has completely entered the witch's body. My yard is already a mess of dirty blood. There's no way he could survive. Blood came out of the witch's mouth. He slowly fell to the ground. Look at me in disbelief. Why do I smile coldly? Slowly pull out the knife. I've died once for you. It's your turn now. The witch lay on the ground, breathing, slowly lost. My father stuffed poisonous snakes into. I saw his lower body slowly begin to transformed into a fat snake. I remembered. In fact, the witch is real the snake girl, the village legend. The snake girl was caught from the sea by the old village chief. The story of the snake woman delivering a child, but in fact, the snake woman was pregnant with tempered glass box. A man and a woman, a pair of siblings. I am that sister. That night, the old village chief brought the snake girl back to the village. The snake girl didn't want to go back with him. The snake girl told the old village chief that he wanted to stay in the mountains. But the old village chief saw the beauty of the snake girl. There were distracting thoughts. He heard that the snake woman's body was sawed off, replaced with human legs. Then I will be dizzy. He can only be content to be a human being. And she did this. The snake girl, I can only disguise myself to find the village chief, became a real village woman. Gradually, he also forgot his identity as a snake girl. They became like those villagers who valued boys only women who could give birth. The status at night, the snake girl gave birth. My dead mother carried me in and threw me in. Twins, one boy and one girl. But because the child is the child of the snake woman, so two children were born at the same time. Difficulty breathing. Keep going like this. Both children could not survive. So the snake girl chose to sacrifice her sister's snake spirit. My sister is dead. Finally put a lock on the glass box. But maybe it's my sister's vengeful spirit. The boy looked very strange since he was born. Just like to drink blood. He doesn't eat vegetables. Only like to eat meat. It has to be raw meat. The boy grows up day by day. It's getting weirder. After doing all this, until the boy's 18th he ate all the villagers in the village. Only the boy, the old village chief, and Snake Woman, and that night, after the boy ate all the villagers, became a fetus. It's like I'll never grow up. The old village chief realized this boy is not normal at all. He wants to kill the child. My dad took a breath. But the snake girl disagreed. The snake girl must continue to protect the boy. Choosing a new mother for him. Rebirth of the fetus. So the snake girl turned into a witch. The legend of giving birth to a snake girl passed to the new villagers who moved to stayed in the snake village and waited. He is waiting. Someone really turned a pregnant woman. I said to me in a nasty voice, the artificial snake you little woman, bitch, the boy's new mother. He also knows boys are born very weak. So a girl needs to sacrifice her life. Gave me the snake mask, black snake pattern painted by candle oil. It will make boys devour me, then stabilize vital signs. What are you looking at? Survive again. What the witch didn't expect after the old village chief left the alias became Ghost Third over Master. The years. He's been looking for opportunities. Find a chance to get rid of that baby once until and this time. After Ghost Third heard about my family, I was sure that my brother must be the ghost baby and carry this thing to the basement. He came to my house. Wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of the ghost baby. The witch is here. My mom's ghost killed my dad. Instead, it contributed to the growth of the ghost eagle. I am the girl who was trapped 100 years later. My soul everyone was reincarnated. It takes 49 days the legend of the snake woman to deliver a child. I took advantage of my dad being drunk. Tell him secretly. My goal is to have the ghost eagle born into my home. Then revenge. The third master and my younger brother. This time, it's 49 days later. Damned. My good son will be born. After my father threw my mother, I seem to have forgotten this. He went out drinking and gambling every day as usual. When I got home at night, I started to abuse him. But because my mother has been turned into a snake, the target of violence naturally became every night when my dad comes home. I can always hear in the basement. There were bursts of shrill wailing sounds and the thumping sound of the boxes. Is my mother not dead yet? It's impossible. Any normal person, locked in an airtight box, staying with hundreds of poisonous estimated snakes. Hours. I'm already dead and can't not die to mention. Again. My mother was transformed by my father before she died. But as time goes by, the knocking noises at night became louder and louder, longer and longer. It's like my mom is still alive. He is struggling hard. Want to run out. But how is this possible? So, the one knocking on the glass might be my mother's ghost. I told this to my dad, but his expression just changed. Then it returned to normal. Pulled me into a corner and you little bitch. You made up a story to scare your father, right? Don't be suspicious. I fell hard that day. It's like venting my fear. That night I dreamed of my mother. She dragged her fat snake tail, standing in front of Wen's bed. Use your hands from your belly. Pull out a blurry mass of flesh and blood. Drop in front of me. With a hoarse voice, Jody, I gave birth to a boy. Hurry and give him to your dad. While the blurred mass of flesh and blood put it in my arms, I looked at the bloody mass. That is clearly a snake with a tail. The scaly boy is biting his fingers. I was awakened by the shock at me. But this time, I didn't dare to go to my dad. Even if I go find him. To tell the truth, there was another banging sound in the basement, like a ghost coming to claim my life. I don't know why. I quietly climbed out of bed, slipped to the basement door. The night is dark and quiet. Only a pale moonlight shines on the ground.
pale moonlight shines
shining
through the crack
into
of
the
glass
basement
water
door.
tank.
I squatted in front of the door.
The banging noises
Trembling.
in the basement are getting louder and louder.
I leaned over the crack in the
Just
door
that one
and
glance.
looked inside. I was so frightened that I
By the
trembled
pale
all over.
moonlight,
I saw was inside the glass box. My mother's body has already rotted and turned blue. Her belly is bulging. It is covered with a layer of corpses of snakes of various colors. There are even a few venomous snake
into
heads.
my mother's belly.
There was another thing in the box, hitting the glass.
It's a black monster.
He has a snake's tail and a human body, but its body is covered with long, sharp black thorns. The monster also has My mother's face is exactly
With
the
red
same.
eyes.
He was knocking on the glass. He saw me. Gave me a scary smile. That smile is so big. The corners of the mouth are pulled to the eye
Revealing
sockets.
bright red flesh.
Looks extremely twisted. I was shaking with fear. My back was soaked with cold sweat.
In trance.
I heard a deep laugh coming from the basement. The laughter was sharp.
Makes
and
your pores
hoarse,
shrink.
with the cry of a poisonous snake. Adding a bit of horror, I don't dare stay here anymore. I ran back to my room. There was a rustling sound behind me. It's like that thing has crawled out of the glass box. Soon the 49th day arrived. My dad drank a whole bottle of liquor that day. He pulled me out of the quilt, shouting, "Dead girl, get up quickly. When the 49th day comes, come with me to pick up." I crawled out of the quilt without saying a word, hiding behind my dad. I still remember the horrible monster I saw that night. My mother is pregnant. It's clearly a monster with a twisted face. But I didn't dare to cover up what my father said. I can only follow him trembling. My father held a pair of scissors in his hand, opened the basement door. That moment, a foul stench rushed straight into my nose. It tastes like a dead body that has been left there for a year or two. And smelly. There was also a smell of disinfectant. I couldn't help squatting on the ground and retching. My father's eyes were red. Kicked open the glass box. Suddenly, turbid blood poured out. There were also several dead snakes mixed in. Even weirder is their flesh and blood disappeared. Only the skeleton of a sentence is left. It's like something sucked their flesh. I looked at the broken glass box. But the strange thing is, in the box, there was no such terrible monster as I saw that night. Purple. The top is full of dead snakes. Then I noticed the corpse's belly. That belly is very big and high. From a distance, I can't see my mother's face at all. Already finished. Covered his body completely. The belly is covered with purple blood streaks. From a distance, it looks like a messy spider web. The corpse's stomach is still moving. It's like something is constantly squirming inside, moving and stretching his body. I remember the horrible monster I saw that night. I couldn't help but take a few steps back. But my dad seemed extremely excited. He reeks of alcohol. Excitedly said that it was worthy of my son's swelling, still in the stomach. It's so noisy. The body must be strong, he said. I took the scissors that cut open my mother's belly. A loud baby cry, the whole basement. But I was in that cry. I heard a faint laugh again. Hee chi 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 da da. And the monster I saw that night. The laughter of the creatures is exactly the same. My dad shouted excitedly. Yes, with a handle. He took out a ball of red from the corpse. The flesh and blood laughed happily. I looked over quickly. My daddy was holding a baby boy in his arms. But the baby boy looked a little strange. His head is huge, even 2 times bigger. The baby boy saw me, waving bloody hands. Gave me a smile. I was horrified at that moment. Because of this baby boy's smile, it's the same monster I saw that my brother was born. The village is surrounded by circles of poisonous snakes. Their eyes are red, spitting out bright red snake sacks, screaming all night. Later, I heard from the villagers that these poisonous snakes are all heading west. My home is just west of the village. My dad took my brother out of my mom's belly. After holding it out, just threw it to me, cursing, "You little bitch, Take good care of
He's
my
going to
dear
have a
son.
mishap.
I'll kill you. My father left home after saying this. No need to think about it. He's going to meet that gang. The bad friends went out to drink. My brother and I are thinking of the horrible monster I saw. I felt a fear for my brother.
This is clearly not a normal baby boy.
But the monster transformed. But due to my father's sexual danger, I didn't dare to resist. I can only hold my brother in bed, milk the cow and feed it to him. But the strange thing is, this weird brother smelled the milk. There was a disgusting
Waving his little
expression on
hands,
his face.
he knocked the bottle to
He
the
lay on the
ground.
bed. Open your mouth and let out a shrill cry. I was stunned. Newborn baby not drinking milk. So what does he eat? Just then, the baby saw the dead body
These
of the
corpses
snake on the
are
ground.
from
When my father
the
turned
venomous
my mother
snake
into
that I
a
kept
snake
in a
woman.
glass box with my mother.
Now these snakes are long dead. The flesh all over his body was dark purple.
Looks disgusting.
But there was a terrible look in my brother's eyes, the color of greed. He made a weird laugh. Climb out of bed and come to the
Extending
pile of corpses,
wrinkled hands,
stuffing dead snakes
chewing
into
the
his
rotten
mouth.
and smelly snake meat.
He made a weird
Look up
laugh.
at me.
There are still a few drops of fresh, red sticky blood, red bloodshot eyes. He had half a rotten dead snake
Greed
in
in the
mouth,
eyes.
staring at me. I was so scared that I was shaking all over. Ran out of the house. I hid in the yard and shivered. It's late at night. It's cold and dark outside. My dad went out drinking. It was just me and that horrible baby. The cold wind blows on me. I can't stop shaking. Suddenly, I felt a slap on my back. A pair of pale hands rested on my shoulders. That hand is cold. Bone-chilling cold. I turned my head sharply and looked back. A pale face pressed tightly in front of my eyes. That face is full of wrinkles. In the two green bean-sized eyeballs. Glowing blue light, watching me quietly under the pale
This face
moonlight.
looks very eerie.
Not like a living person at all.
You are the daughter of the seventh
The man
family.
looked at me with sunken eyes. Open your mouth to reveal a mouthful
Asked
of
me.
black and yellow teeth. I was stunned. Looking carefully at the woman in front
Just
of him.
because of fear.
So I didn't dare to see this person's face
Calm
clearly.
down now.
I just remembered that this
What
is
terrible
the witch in
and
the
strange
village. Things always
They will
happen
ask
in
the
village
witch
to solve it. When I was a kid, I used to lie in front of the door of the witch's house. The body was taken out of the basement. A few red candles were lit on the head. Because of that scene, so I am to the goddess. I always have an inexplicable fear. The witch saw that I didn't speak. Stretch out your hands like chicken claws. Grab my neck tightly. You look nervous. Where's your mother? I'm wondering if the witch knows something. I want to break free, but the witch's hand held me. I can't struggle at all. I bit my lip. I dare not say a word. Now the one who was cured into a
My
snake
mom's
woman
body is still lying in
the witch's
basement.
face changed. Let me go immediately. Quickly opened the basement door. I followed him. But the moment the witch opened the door to the basement, I was stunned. An unexpected sense of fear enveloped me completely. My mother's body is missing, but I clearly remember this morning. The corpse that had already decayed was still
At this
lying
moment,
there.
I heard a noise
crackling
coming from
sounds.
the next room.
It's like something huge is
Chi,
moving
chi,
there.
chi, da, da.
Dong, dong, dong. My father's
house
next
keeps a
door
lot of
is my
poisonous
snakes at home. When they grow up, they are taken to the market and sold. The money from the sale was used to gamble in the casino. Only has
How could it
make
make
such a loud
the witch's
noise?
face
changed. He took out a peachwood bracelet from his
Pull
pocket
me
and
up
put it
and
on
run
his
to the
hand.
next
He
door.
kept mumbling. It's over. This is the return of the
Your
snake
mother's
girl.
ghost
is back. In the pitch black night, I seemed to see my mother standing at my door covered in blood. Opened the door to the snake's den. My eyes suddenly straightened. The originally neat land. It has become a hell. In the blood. One after another, the little snakes
What's
turned
even
their
more
bellies up.
terrifying
There's a small
is the
figure
bloody.
lying in the snake's
He was
stretching out his hands,
still
to put small
smacking my
snakes
lips
into his
comfortably.
mouth.
This
This
is
is
obviously
obviously my younger brother. The witch's face turned pale. He pulled me out of the room. It's all over. Your father's sin. This is not the snake woman delivering
is the
a
snake
child.
girl.
The witch told me. The legend in the village
But
about
it's
the
not
snake
what we
woman
heard.
delivering children is true. That was 50 years ago. The village chief at that
He has
time
no
lived
wife
a lonely
and no
life,
children.
just working hard to cultivate the land and
On a
build the
stormy
village.
night,
The old village chief went up the mountain to chop
Unfortunately,
firewood. He was bitten on the ankle by a venomous
loss of
snake.
strength.
Full body limp. The poison of the venomous snake gradually
lay there
permeated
breathless.
the old village
Just
chief's
when the old
body. Village chief was discouraged.
When you lose consciousness,
He felt a pair of hands holding him up. Then he fed himself
After
a fruit.
eating
the
the
snake
fruit,
venom in the old village chief gradually
he wakes up.
disappeared. I just want to see my savior. But what shocked the
It
old
wasn't the
village
human
chief
who saved
was,
him,
but a woman with the upper body. The strange woman of the second half
That
of her
woman is
life
very
with a
beautiful.
venomous snake. Slim figure. Delicate face. The old village chief took the snake girl back.
1 month later,
The snake girl gave birth to a boy.
This
for the
kid is
old
weird.
village chief. He could walk and talk at just 3 months old. Even know a lot of weird knowledge. He will tell the old village
wasteland
chief should be reclaimed there. How to plant rice. With the help of the boy, Snake Village is growing. As for the snake girl, after the snake girl gave birth to a boy,
As
for
for
the
the
old
snake
village
girl,
chief spread throughout the village.
Everyone
In an
said
instant, that this snake girl came to
the
the
villagers
snake
who sent
village.
the baby boy
Went to
asked
the village
chief's
chief's house
to
to
contribute
give
the snake
every
girl.
family in the village.
At first,
the old village
but the
chief
villagers were too
naturally
many.
disagreed. Finally, the villagers forcibly took the snake
As a
girl
production
away.
machine for the entire
The old
village.
village chief is unhappy. He died not long after. The night he died, thunder and lightning. Countless poisonous snakes rushed into the village,
Bites
like
everyone
crazy.
he sees.
Eat up all the livestock in the village.
That night, too,
the snake girl disappeared. With the baby boy born by the snake girl also
The
disappeared.
villagers
said that the snake
He
woman
stayed in the
is
village,
still there,
looking for an opportunity
This story
to
somehow
take
changed
revenge in the
The
end.
witch told me. My dad didn't turn my mom into
Snake
a snake
girl
woman. Is a product of heaven
In
and
fact,
earth. It can
he
be
turned my
artificially
mother into a
created.
snake girl,
and the
evil
little
spirit.
brother that was taken out of my mother's belly.
Actually,
she is a snake girl.
They are back.
She is a snake girl.
They are back for revenge.
Someone will die in my house tonight. Before the witch leaves, Squeeze me
Gave
with
me
those
a
cold
new
red
hands.
candle. He told me, my mother's ghost will definitely come back. He told me to stay away from my brother. My mom is. It's possible that he will come back to take
He
revenge
also
in
told
my
me,
brother's body. If my mother were to attack me, I must light the red candle he gave me. Lay flat on your chest. This is the only way to save
I
your
hid the
life.
bright red candle in my
palms
pocket.
are full of sticky cold sweat. That night, my mother is really back. That night when my father with a dark and thin old man. The old man has colorful tattoos on his face. Looks weird. His face was red. He smashed the bottle at my feet. Shrimp girl, come quickly and help carry the things. My dad was drunk, but he was very respectful to the dark and thin old man. I ran over tremblingly. I want to help that old man carry his things. But the old man stared at me. His wrinkled face was full of gloom. A pair of eyes like a mouse, looking at me secretly. Your wife has indeed become a vicious person. Your son is definitely
I noticed the old
not a
man was
woman,
looking
so I
up
carefully
and
avoided
down.
his gaze.
The old man noticed the change in me.
Then I turned around and said to my father, tonight at the latest, your wife's ghost is coming back. My father heard this. His face suddenly turned pale. I could see he was half sober. My father nervously grabbed the old man's hand. The face is full of sweat. What to do then? Ghostmaster, you have to save the green eyes of Ghostmaster San.
Looks
are
like
very
an
bright.
animal's eyes in the dark.
He said in a cold voice. This is not an ordinary ghost. Your wife's complaint. The anger has been accumulated for a full 49 days. It became a building. I will come back tonight for revenge. Someone in your family is
Ghost
going to
Sonia
die.
finished speaking.
His strange eyeballs were rolling around.
He first looked at my father.
Then he glanced at his brother. Finally, his eyes focused on me. Just slowly. I'll save your life.
I heard him
Son's
say
life
this.
first. Suddenly, a chill ran down my back, gradually spread throughout the body. I understand what he means. Then I will be the only one who dies.
I shivered and huddled aside.
I dare not say a word. As dark as a piece of
Cover
black
me
cloth.
completely in it.
Ghost Master. He took out a tattered doll from his pocket. Put it in my arms. Little girl, you will bring this doll with you. Go sleep in your dad's bedroom. I looked at the broken doll. This doll is weird. Feels very smooth. Like normal human skin. I can guess. If you listen to the words of Master Bui, the one who died is most likely me. I shook my head in fear. I want to push the doll out of my arms, but I fell and got kicked hard. He blushed and yelled. What do you want, damn girl? You just can't stand my goodness. Do you want to kill me and your brother? He raised his hand, slapped me hard in the face. That strange baby was held in my father's arms. He watched this scene, showing a scary smile. Squeak, squeak, squeak. But I looked at the expressions of my father and Master They seemed to not hear the sound at all. I looked again at the baby in the pale moonlight. I noticed the baby's tail. The pig bones slowly bulge. A small black snake tail grew out. His hand was on the snake's tail, rocking comfortably. That moment, I remember what the witch said. She told me to stay away from my brother, and the witch gave me that bright red candle. My hands are in my pockets, holding the candle tightly. After a moment, I nodded. Say dad to my dad. I listened to you. In the middle of the night, my father and the woodshed also brought my brother. That was where I slept. And I was forced, holding the tattered doll that Ghost 3 sleeping in Dad's room. I don't know if it's because of fear. I huddled in bed and can't sleep at all. Around 1 or 2 in the morning, there was a clear clicking sound. A tiny snake sound came. I huddled in my quilt, not daring to move. Just then, I feel the hair on the back of my head being grabbed fiercely. The piercing pain made me tremble all over, but I still grit my teeth. Dare not make a sound. The father of the child, are you in bed? I heard my mother's voice beside the bed. His voice is deep, very hoarse. This doesn't sound like a living person's voice. I dare not say a word. Silently holding the red candle in my pocket. Just then, my mother's voice sounded again. I gave birth to many children. Don't you like boys the most? They're all boys. Cold sweat soaked my back. Then I came up by myself. I heard a fluttering sound. The voice you selected does not support with a fat snake tail. Please click the upper right corner from the ground to switch to another voice. Slowly climb into bed. I felt my instep being touched by cold hands hold. The hand slowly stretched reached upward. My thigh, calf. The biting cold made me shiver. I felt the cold hand squeezing my legs. Seems to have paused. Then the strength of those hands became even slowly stronger. I seemed to hear. There was a slight breathing sound in cold breath on my face. It makes me feel itchy. I closed my eyes tightly. You can imagine that my mother is pale and strange face at this moment, right above my face. Exhaling breath from nose. A pair of bright red eyes stared at me. I dare not open my eyes. I was afraid to see that horrible scene as soon as I opened my eyes. I feel... My mother put her hands into my arms. Those hands are cold. As cold as the eternal ice. Even weirder is, those hands were covered with cold scales. Scales scrape across my skin. Draw a bloody mark. I opened my eyes in pain. I happened to see my mother's face. That's not a human face at all. The flesh on the face turns blue and no eyes at all. There is not enough space on top. Large and small blue and red scars. What's even more terrifying is his cheek. Covered with a layer of dark scales, reflecting the cold moonlight. Looks like an enemy. My mom noticed me. He gave a scary smile. That smile isn't very big. Just raised the corner of his mouth slightly. But I saw his layer. Blurred flesh under the skin. The father of the child. I don't know that ghost. What method was used? My mom actually mistook me for my dad. My mother called out to the child's father,
while eagerly
in a hoarse
reaching out
voice.
his
I saw
hand.
his hands and face, also covered with a layer of scales, long and black nails, as sharp as a knife blade. My mother stuck her nails into her belly. With a loud bang, he cut open the belly. Then put your hand in, like looking for something. He kept calling his child's
Dad,
father. Don't you like boys the most? Look, I gave birth to many
Lots of
boys for
boys.
you. My stomach is almost full. Help me decorate. I saw with horror my mother from his belly pull out one flesh and blood after another dead snake. I'm going to cut open my belly, put all these dead snakes in it. At the critical moment, I heard a crackling sound. That voice is the ghost Sonya doll that was given to me. I was nervous just now. It turns out the doll was pressed so hard, my mother's expression changed instantly. You can throw away the dead snake in your hand. Pulling off my blanket, slammed the doll hard on the ground. There was fear in his eyes. With indelible tension, I huddled in my quilt. My mother seems to be very afraid of this doll. No, not right. Ghostmaster San asked me to hold the doll, sleeping in my dad's room. It's obvious that they want me to be my father's scapegoat. My mom just mistook me for my dad. That doll is the weird baby that replaced my brother. So it wasn't the doll that scared my mom. My mother lies on the bed. Bright red eyes. Reach out your cold, stiff hands. Slam the wooden fish heavily on the bed. There was sorrow and hatred in her voice. Even more cautious than before. Dead tongue when you called me dad. Death is because of you. I saw the doll was smashed to pieces about half an hour later. He stopped moving, turned around and looked at me fiercely. Dad, you're holding this thing. You are like him. You're going to die too. I saw it in his eyes. I saw the bottomless hatred. I'm sure my mom really wants to kill me this time. The fear completely overwhelmed me. Then I touched the new red candle that the witch in my pocket gave me. I took out the candle with trembling hands, standing on my chest, lighted the candle with a match. The material of this candle is weird. It doesn't seem to be made of ordinary paraffin wax. The moment the match just touched the candle, he suddenly burned up. The oil dripped on my chest, but I didn't feel any burning sensation. On the contrary, I felt a cool. The candlelight lit up the small room. My mother's pale and swollen face. Suddenly, a stunned expression appeared. She stared with a pair of wide eyes, stared at me for a while, finally shook his head. But your nose 1 or 2 centimeters. I sniffed and showed off deeply. Finally, he shook. He turned his head, muttering to myself with a pair of scary eyes. You are not, where is he? By candlelight, I saw my mother turned her head. He jumped off the bed. The sound of plops on the ground and the hissing sound of snakes. My mom is gone. The door clicked. I lay in bed trembling. Body stiffness. I can't lift a bit of strength. Just then, I saw the star-red candle burn transformed into drops of crystal-clear lampwood. A strange pattern formed. That pattern. It looks like a slithering a few times to get the oil out, but I found that pattern. It seems to blend in with my skin. No matter how hard I try, I can't get it off. I heard the knock on the door again, but this time the knock came from my father and brother lived there. There was also a ghost son. My mom went to find them. Dark and quiet. I stayed in bed all night long. The next day, at dawn, the door was pushed open. Ghostmaster San's face was full of fear, covered in blood. He looks bad. Dark complexion. He pulled me out of bed. There was a bottomless cruelty in his eyes. I asked what you did last night. Why did your father die instead of you? I got up tremblingly. Only then did I see there was a bloody mark on the floor of the room. Looks like last night. My mother dragged the bloody snake. When I crawled into my room, the trace left by the snake's tail. There are also bones of dead scattered on the ground. Looks horrible. It seems that my mother really came last night. Look at the ghost in front of you. Although he is still alive, but I'm struggling all over. The wound turned black and gray. looks in bad condition. But what I noticed more was he just said my father is dead. It seems that after my mother left yesterday, I went to see my dad. What happened last night? The ghost grabbed my throat tight, bloodshot eyes, asked me. I'm breathing fast. 15. The horror scenes I saw. Told him. The only thing I omitted was that I lit the candle that the witch gave me. Then my mother left that period. The expression on Ghostmaster Sand's face, he stared at the broken wooden fish on the ground. There's a flickering light in the eyes. It's not right to mutter in your mouth. Has smashed the doll. Why does tongue coating still show magic? Why? About half a minute later, Ghost Sonya looked at me again. Do you remember when your mother left? I was stunned for a moment. He shook his head and replied, it should be around 4 o'clock. The ghost's face suddenly changed. He was shaking violently. My legs went limp, the eyes are dim. I fell to the ground. That's it. Yes. 4 is dead tree. Your mother broke the doll, but because it is a dead stone, so the tongue coating is not dead. Instead, the ferocity increased. That's what killed your father. I've provoked the snake fetus and the snake girl's evil spirit. I guess I can't survive. He sat down on the ground. Looks extremely decadent. I kept repeating, 100 years. A full 100 years. I've been planning for 100 years. I actually lost. I don't quite understand what the ghost is talking about. But I understood a little bit. My dad is dead. I can't explain my feelings. Is it joy or sadness? I just feel numb. I walked out of the room numbly. Come to the woodshed next door. It's a mess inside, but it's different from my room. The woodshed looks no different. The only thing is my father's body. His body was suspended. The 2 arms seemed to be controlled by some mysterious force. Winding into my belly, his face turned black. There is a trace of blood at the corner of the mouth. What's even more terrifying is, my dad has a big suture line on his stomach. It's like someone cut open his stomach. Stuff something in there? I remember that day. My father used scissors to cut open the seam when I took my brother out of the thought of this. Oh, my brother. From the beginning to the end, what scares me most, it's that weird brother. At this time, I heard a burst of laughter. Hee. Squeak, squeak, squeak. That laughter came from my dad's belly. I looked towards the corpse. In the gaping hole in my father's belly, an ugly head popped out, giving me a strange smile. That's my brother. Hey, little brother came out of my dad's belly. There was still traces of blood on his body. Scared. You are me, and I am. My brother came towards me, lying on the ground. He is very fast. The movement is like a fish swimming in water.